Are you wasting your time and money on inefficiencies in the business? Are sales down and lead conversion rates are low? Are you having problems building or maintaining inventory levels? What does it really take to win in the automotive industry?
Get the cars that make sense for your store rather than just wishing at an auction, so it gives you that better control.
With over 25 years of experience, Darrell the Wolf Steed isn't just another industry voice. He's the guy who's out there solving real problems for dealers just like you.
They'll even say in the Pacific Northwest where you're at that it's a tougher market. It's, it's tougher to find cars. The market's a little bit softer. And in the midst of all this, your turn doubled and your profit's up 75%.
Yes.
The truth hurts only when it should. Are you ready to hear the truths? Darrell is here to unpack the hard truths and the proven strategies that will take your dealership from struggling to soaring. And he is taking it all in the streets, with real talk, open dialogue, unfiltered conversations. This is the podcast series, Street Smarts, powered by Smartwolf Consulting.
All right, we are back. Street Smarts powered by Smartwolf Consulting. And today, guys, you are in for something a little bit different because we are bringing flair, attitude, energy, and that's right, all into the social sphere with the Auto Social Gal. And if you haven't seen her, you got to get out from under the rock you're living under because she's everywhere. Ina Coveney is rocking the industry and just pretty much the social sphere with getting engagement, showing people how to connect, create trust, and do a lot of different ways to create marketing for yourself. And I know, guys, this is where you need to hold on to it. Leads and sales by doing this. And so we really want to dive deep into this because this is one of those big buzzwords we're hearing about and we need to get better at. So thank you so much, Ina, for coming on. It was great meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and I look forward to our conversation. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I know as soon as I met you, I knew like this is a guy I just have fun talking to. So I can't wait for us to all just dive into this. Everybody who's listening right now, you should have seen the jacket that he was wearing. Like this is prime social media content. Is a picture of you in that jacket everywhere. Okay. So hi, yes, I'm Ina. And so what I do is I do social media for dealerships, and I specifically focus on organic content, right? So imagine that you have salespeople, but they're not really posting themselves, or there's something going on that is just not part of the culture to go and just turn on a camera and turn on TikTok and do something silly or engaging or entertaining. I go into the dealership and I record that content with this staff. It only takes me a couple of days to record 90 days worth of content. So for 90 days, the dealership can just go about their business without having to worry about their social media. And I go and I take care of everything for them. I post it for them. I edit it for them, just all with their voice and their staff in the forefront. So I do that. And I also train specific salespeople who want to elevate their game, right? Like if you do have people who are willing and able to do this and they just want to learn, I go and I train them and I give them the tools ongoingly, because the hardest part is getting salespeople to start posting and then continue to post, right? Because it becomes a job. It's hard work to actually keep a feed going. Yes, it can be fun, but it's also hard work. So I kind of plug into the dealership and I become their coach and I become their marketing specialist. So that's kind of what I do. Like, does it make sense, first of all?
So it's interesting you say that because, like you said, it is a job. It's no joke. It's one of those things. Is when you look at social media, and you said that it takes you how many days to create 90 days of content? I am doing something wrong.
2 days.
Yeah, I'm doing something really wrong, man. It takes me more than 2 days. But so when you think about that, though, I thought that was interesting because you're like, okay, how are you creating all these dynamics? But like 2 days, right? Because I know dealers ask this question. So dealers, I want to give you guys some things that take all the excuses away from you. In Street Smarts, it's the truth hurts only when it should. But more importantly, we're going to give you actionable intelligence. I get asked all the time, Well, if we do social media, or if we have our people do this, or whatever version of this, like, then they're going to not be very efficient and effective, because they're going to be distracted and things of that nature. And I kind of laugh, because I'm like, well, you just kind of said, like, hey guys, if you spent 2 days, which obviously you don't have to do it in two full blocks, but if you said, like, okay, if you spend 2 days, you guys can create this much content, and then you guys can use it as you needed. So it's like, what does it look like if you just used an hour a day, a half hour a day? Like, so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. How can a salesperson or a team be effective without giving up a lot of time that they have to give up, like making it their whole day? And before you do that, here's that jacket she was talking about. I wanted to make sure everyone saw it, because she says this is social media fire. Okay,
Absolutely.
I did wear this absolutely fantastic special jacket for the last speaking event, and it's probably one of my best ones yet, but I wanted to give everyone a preview of what that looked like. So
I love that jacket so much. This is gold. For anybody listening on the actual podcast, you need to go to the YouTube channel and find this episode and look at this jacket. It's beautiful.
So, just putting that in there, but like, kind of explain to us, what does it look like for a salesperson to be successful? And so they don't get distracted, so they don't get off track. They still got a thing to do, whether it's acquisition or sales or whatever else. How can they like really create a dynamic response or social sphere to where they get that trust and engagement from, customers?
Yeah, why don't we start first with what the goal really is? Because I know that it sounds like it makes people open their eyes when I say 2 days, 90 days worth of content. I want you to know this is, you get those results when you hire an expert who knows
Sure.
how to do and who knows what they're doing during those 2 days. And I don't pull the entire sales staff off the floor for 2 days to record that content either. I do it in bits and pieces whenever they become available. So one thing that became really obvious, and you heard this in the event that we both went to, there's a general sense that salespeople definitely do have the downtime during the day to create. Like we heard this repeated, right? And this is something that I've never heard anybody refute that fact, right? Tell me
No.
like, no, wait,
Sure.
we are keeping our salespeople busy 10 hours a day. How are they supposed to find time? That has never been an objection to creating content, right? So let's start first with the goal, because if
Sure.
the goal is to keep the feed full, right? The biggest problem that I see is dealerships hiring young people solely for the purpose of them creating content without it really being a part of their job or a set expectation when they get hired. They just think that young people already come with a phone in their hand, and that just by letting them loose, they are going to use social media. And right now, it's just not a part of their job description. And like we just started saying, this is a job. It does take so much time and so much effort. So first, start with your goal. What is your goal? Is your goal to just to just have a presence, to just do something? And I'm going to tell you, I feel like that's the goal of a lot of dealerships out there, just based on their social media presence right now. I see a lot of dealerships just posting pictures of cars. I see a lot of dealerships just posting promotions, just like, hey, this is just going on sale, this is a used car we have. Like, it seems to me like they're doing the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum. So if that's the goal, then great, your marketing department is right on the money, right? Like that's not the world where I live. I don't live in the world just posting pictures of cars. That's useless to me. What I want is to develop a trust between you and the community, right? I want people to know that Ina down the street just popped up in my feed and I didn't realize she's just down the street. If I'm going to buy a car, I want to buy it from her, right? And
Sure.
the nature of social media is that you're not going to catch people who are necessarily ready to buy a car right now.
Yep.
You start to develop a relationship with them so that when they want to buy a car, they will want to come and buy it from you. So that is a long-term game. And if that's your goal, to have a presence so that next year, people who started watching you a year ago start to come into your store, that's when you're really going to start to see results. Is that consistency. If you just try social media posts for a month and you're like, well, that didn't work, right? Our numbers didn't change. We sold fewer cars than we did last month and we put all this investment into social media. I'm going to say like, great, you're not looking at it right. right? You just tried something for a month that should have been tried for at least a year, because you're developing a relationship. You don't develop a relationship by meeting somebody for one day, right? It's a trust that gets built. And the way that the trust works is by you showing up all the time. You not going away.
So it's funny you say that, guys. And listen, by the way, there was no warm up to her coming on this. It was, hey, we're just going to talk about a few things. So it's not like we rehearsed this. But a reason I want to bring this up, guys, is because we take it to the streets and there's no like, softball questions. Is she used really crazy words like you have to make them trust you and you have to be consistent. And what I liked her saying the best, and I have to put it out there for all of these dealers and anybody that's doing anything, is she didn't say it works in a month or 2 months. She says bare minimum, you got to do it for at least 12 months. And it's weird because it's someone else. Who was that guy? Oh, that's right. It was me who's been telling people about buying centers and anything else. If you're not going to do it for a year, you don't know what you have because it takes that long just to get traction on anything. So I find it interesting that you're seeing that in social sphere too, because the biggest, we'll call it tragedy or like challenge we see in the automotive space right now is the consistency, and not just consistency like with their plan, but being consistent in anything is like, oh, if it doesn't work in 30 days or 90 days, they're like, it didn't work. And you're like, guys, you don't even know what works until you've went through all 4 seasons.
Right.
And so, because people need to see you more than just once, like you do a big hype video. You're like, okay, great. But if you only do it once, they're like, okay, so you did an event and that's all you did. I would love, so it's just interesting you said that because there's so many parallels to understanding people's buying strategies and social strategies also work into business models, right?
And sorry to interrupt, I just needed to
Yep.
inject in here because it's so important that you call that out, because dealerships and dealership owners are used to investing into something and getting and knowing in advance what the immediate ROI is going to be. That's why, so when I came into the automotive space, which was recently, like I came from the online digital world where our lifeblood is from getting
Sure.
trust online. Like that's my expertise. It's not in selling cars, it's in developing that strategy, that trust. So dealership owners, they hear me say, this is a long-term game and you're going to try it for a while and see like how it works, but it's gonna be for a long time. They're like, well, what is my ROI and when am I gonna see it? And if I don't see it in 3 months, then I'm cutting this. And I'm like, okay, great. Then you're not going to compete with everybody else around you who is really putting in the time. So I just wanted to really call it out. We're in a different world over here.
Sure. Well, no, I think it's really important to understand, like, I say it a lot. I say it everywhere I go is consistency is the most boring thing you've ever seen until it starts working. And then you're like, oh my gosh, now we're getting consistent results. And then it's exciting because you're not going like this, right? You're like, oh no, now we're staying right here. So, another question I wanted to ask you, right? Like is, all right, so when we talk about social media, you talk about that presence is, how important is it for people to, and the way I want to phrase this is kind of get your insight into like, I've seen a really bad situation of where the automotive space, you don't see a lot of people talking about or proud about what they do, which, I mean, it is one of the least trusted positions in America. And it's a lot of because of what the movies show and what some bad players out there have done. But when you're talking about social media, not only do you want to have content about what you do, how important is it for people just to have a presence of like who they are and telling people and being proud about what they do, so that people like, I don't want to buy from somebody that like is like, well, what do you do? Oh, can I show cars? Like, I want people that are like, this is what I do. How important is that in that scheme of what you post?
Okay, I am actually going to draw a little chart for you and I will describe it for people in the podcast. Okay. Because first of all, it's not, I really question whether it is that people are not proud of what they do. It's more that they are aware of what the general public thinks of dealership and salesmen. So it's not like they are ashamed or afraid of coming off a certain, like I don't think that they're ashamed of their profession. I think that they can foretell that by saying that they sell cars, they're going to get a certain reaction, right? Which is not wrong. I'm telling you, I've been in the automotive industry for just a little while. And whenever I speak about car sales, my comments get flooded with people saying that dealerships are scams, that car salespeople are sleazy. Like I get flooded with hate comments. So I understand. I'm like, how can somebody do this for a living, like sell cars? And every time they say what they do, that's what comes back. So I completely sympathize and totally get it. To be successful in social media, especially if car salespeople are listening to me, I really hope this serves as solace for them. They just need to know that haters are going to hate, right? This is what they do, and there's a lot of them out there. So the little chart that I wanted to draw for you is, and I'm gonna just haters. There we go. This is what it looks like. It looks like a pyramid. Okay, where at the bottom of the pyramid you have the haters. In the middle of the pyramid you have lukewarm people, and then at the very tippy top of the pyramid you have people who love you. All right. The truth is that when you are on social media, notice that the bottom of the pyramid, the haters, is a much bigger slice of the pie than the lovers' tiny triangle at the top. All right. So if you're going to grow on social media, you got to realize that the more you grow, which is what everybody wants to do, right? If I'm going to invest in social media, I want more followers. I want more views. You got to know that the only way to grow the tiny triangle of people who love you is by growing the entire pyramid. And what does that mean? That you're going to get a lot of haters. You're going to get a lot of people who are just lukewarm, who just continue to scroll right past you. They could care less. But if you want to grow the people who love you, you got to deal with the fact that people are just not going to like you. So it's one of those things that in the digital world, we have coaches, an entire fleets and fleets of coaches who only deal with entrepreneurial mindset. And mindset is all about understanding that you know what you're doing, that there will be that small triangle that will love you, and to start ignoring the haters. The advanced way to deal with the haters is to realize that they are giving you engagement. They are giving your account a boost. And when somebody replies to your video and says, well, dealerships are scams, and I can't believe that you're a part of that industry, what you do, this is a total advanced tip for those who are ready to do this. You reply to it, not with the goal of changing that person's mind. All right, that person is gone. All right, what you're doing is replying for everybody else who is watching, because you want the people who love you to read that comment and learn a little bit more about you, right? When I get a hateful comment, I reply and I say, validate first. You know what? I can see where you're coming from, but I have worked with and met so many lovely people with integrity in the automotive industry. And I really wish, this is what I do. I do social media to help elevate those voices. I really wish more people knew them. So I want everybody else to hear my answer to those comments. So yeah, I'm sorry, I went down this route.
No, it's great that you say that, because I think people need to understand, right? Like, you drew that pyramid, and we will put that in there. I'll have these guys put in the pyramid of haters, and then just average people, and then lovers, or your raving fans. It's like anything else, right? You have to understand, you have to take the good with the bad, right? Like, if we think we're going to be all roses and unicorns and rainbows, it's not, right? There's going to be the people out there that are trolling and hating. And I tell people the same thing on this podcast or anything I do. I'm like, look, if you have suggestions, you want to throw hate, you want to whatever, I'll take it all, because at the end of the day, that means you took time to acknowledge me. Right. And that same thing as you said is, then I usually go one further. If they put something ragey or hatey or trolly, I just go like this, well, thank you. I mean, you took time to write a comment about me. The most I can do is just say thank you. Because like you said, to get in a debate and try to convince you that I'm the difference. If everyone was this is a wasted effort on both parts. All we're doing is it's like two political parties. You're not going to make me Republican. You're not going to make me Democrat. We're just going to agree to disagree and be over here. So
exactly.
It's interesting you say that. Now, I'd love to switch gears a little bit, because obviously we're going to talk social, but now what I think, is another interesting thing that we're seeing in the landscape. Well, I've been doing this for a long time, but, as automotive dealerships, we typically take a little bit while to to grab onto these new age concepts. It takes us a little while, like, so like 10, 12, 15 years, you know, we're a little slow to the take, right?
Yes.
Is that I've been doing video since 2011, but video and way of form of communication is like a piece of like social, right? You're creating vulnerability, you're doing that. Where do you, like, when you look at social, is like when people say like, oh, it's so hard, or I don't like being out there, or I don't like doing videos, where, like, where's there a good place to start? Is it like doing videos in store? Is it doing like, I think you or somebody was talking about like just turning it on and like going and just like cooking in the kitchen just so you get used to the video there? Like, what are some tips that people can get? Because it is scary to be on camera when you haven't done it, of how you're going to sound or look. I mean, the camera does add 10 pounds for me. It adds 60. I swear I'm smaller in real life than I am on camera. But like, what are some just little tips that like you could give someone that makes them easier to engage with a camera?
Okay. I think I'm going to say the word mindset again. All right. I think it starts with, what is your goal exactly? Because if you're starting thinking that I have seen other people do these amazing videos, and when they speak to the camera, they're so confident, like, you're basically trying to compare yourself to other people, and you're not going to be them. You're never going to be equal to that. So if I were to compare my online presence and my videos to somebody else who's like 14 chapters ahead of me, that's going to be really intimidating, right? So first ask yourself, what is the most authentic way for you to show up right now? And it's not going to look like anybody else. A lot of the questions that I get usually are like, well, what if I don't want to really be salesy? What if I really don't want to record? I can't record 3 minutes worth of speaking to the camera, right? I'm like, who told you that you need to do all of that? You're comparing yourself. Don't. What is one thing that you want your audience to know or to see? You want to sell that car because this used car just came into the lot and you like really want to move it? Then what do you want to say about that car? Just make sure that you are in the frame. Don't just give me the car. I promise you, manufacturers are doing a great job spending about the features and what the car looks like. All right. What do you want to say about it? Make sure that you are in the shot. So I would say that when you're first starting, you're not necessarily learning how to be on camera. You're learning more about the little technical bits of it. Like you're going to learn that if you're going to record like a selfie kind of video with a car, well, you probably need to do the angle in this way versus this way, or that your lighting, right? That the light can't be behind you because then you're going to come off too dark, right? So I would just say, start with something that you want to share, whatever it is. Make sure that you capture your face at some point. All right, do that. And then just start studying your videos. Oh, that was too dark. That was too bright. You know, I wish I had gotten more of this part of the car. So just keep studying yourself and keep improving forward. Because one thing that people tend to do is they record a bad video, which I'm going to promise you right now, your first video is going to be bad. It's going to be awful. It's going to be terrible. And you're going to be very embarrassed by it. So when people record that first video, they're like, oh, I'm just going to delete it and try again. Do not delete your videos. Whatever you put out there already has views, has already gotten some engagement. Just leave it. The apps do not like it when you go around recording and deleting. They like longevity. So record it, put it out there, and say goodbye. And then improve forward. Record another one tomorrow and another one tomorrow. So that's what I would say. It's not so much about being comfortable in front of the camera. It's just figure out what it is that you want to say, how you want to say it, and give it a try. And be studious about what you're putting out so you can improve it the next time. That's the best way that I can tell you to do it.
No, that's great. Now, I think it's interesting, right? So I do acquisition and used car implementation and strategy, and and I'm obsessed with it. Like it's you could not convince me that new cars have a place in the business anymore. I think it's all about used cars.
Nice.
But it's taken me a while. And like you said, I mean, I study new things. I go to different webinars. I'm on webinars every morning while I'm working out just to learn different things. Right. And, I think it's interesting because we've had, the SEO and SEM for years, and we've had the third party, the auto traders, the cars.com, the Edmunds, the things like that for years. And now we're really getting into the first party leads where dealers can actually take control of their own dynamic and grow their own business. And one of those areas is tier 4 marketing or social media, right? Depending on how people reference it. Where do you see the business in the next, we'll call it 10 years, where lead generation is going to come or take up a big piece of the business from social media, whether it be the marketplace, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or any of these, Snapchat, all these? I mean, there's so many, I can't keep up with them all. But where do you think that business is going to lean, or how do you think it's going to transition to driving your own leads rather than waiting and paying for other people to give you opportunities?
I don't think that dealership owners are going to like my answer, but it's the most truthful answer. And that is that it is true that people now are being born with a phone in their hand. And social media is the way that younger people communicate with each other, right? Like I constantly poll younger people that I know, because I know I look so young. I know, don't say it anymore. But there's a lot of young people who communicate purely through Snapchat and through Instagram. This is how they let everybody know what's going on. So what dealerships are not going to like me saying is that they're going to have to get with the program, with the fact that your salespeople are going to become the primary creators of their own content and drive their own leads to the store, because people tend to follow people rather than companies. So while I'm here shooting myself in the foot because I grow dealership accounts, right? I go to your dealership and I populate your dealership account with your staff. It's not the same and it's not as effective as you empowering your salespeople to create their own content, give them the leeway to be creative and create however they want to create to attract an audience, because the more successful they are, the more successful the dealership will be. Now, the biggest fear here is that, wait, but if I give them all of that power and they garner all of this audience and they're selling all of these cars, they could leave. They could be poached. They could go to another dealership and take their audience with them. And I heard somebody say this, and I thought it was brilliant. Somebody compared it to when somebody once said, okay, so it's like when you train your staff, right? If you train your staff and you give them all the tools to be successful, to be great salespeople, and the question is, wait, what if they leave with all that knowledge and they, go and get cars someplace else for another dealership? Then the question to them is, do you want to have people in your staff who are trained, or would you rather have people who are not? Oh, there's a much better way to tell that story. But
Well, no, it's funny you say that, right? Like, we always fear, like, okay, if you give everybody everything, they'll take it somewhere else and use it
right,
against you, right? Like, but you have to. I always ask this question and it's like you said, do you want people trained that represent you well, or do you want people untrained that put a bad taste in people's mouth, right? That's one way of looking at it. The way I always have now challenged people is to go like, well, if we do this and they leave, and I'm like, why'd they leave? If you were taking care of your people, and so that's the challenge to dealerships today, right? Is, do we really take care of and value our people as much as we say we do, right? And you hear a lot of times the dealership you run, or that you think you run, and then the dealership you actually run. Well, it's the same thing with people. When you say, oh, our people love working here, well, they say that, but do they? And if someone loves what they do and you take care of them and you give them training and developing and empowering them, I've rarely seen people leave unless they're a sales manager and have an opportunity to be a general manager. Okay, well, you should be happy the fact that you gave them that, because it's like, if we use football as a reference, Bill Walsh of the Niners, right? Like, or Jim, and his coaching tree. Well, so he's going to be mad that he taught all these other coaches, and then when they got an opportunity to get their own team, he says, I'm hurt by this. He should be elated at the fact he taught them and got them ready for that. So,
and I feel like that speaks to leadership in general, right? Like, there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. And when you're a leader, you care about where your people go and what your people do.
Sure.
That you're mentoring.
And I think when you said you were shooting yourself in the foot, I would say you're not, right? Because you're giving them the breakdown of what you do to get them started, right? You're going to help them get their dealership page, because that's important, right? That all these audiences should be driving back to your dealership so that it all works as one band, one sound. But why I don't think you're shooting yourself in the foot, and I would tell all dealers, same thing I tell them about acquisition. Yeah, you can go out there and puddle around and you can kind of do anything and maybe do this. But I have a coach. I
Mhm.
paid a lot of money for my coach because I wanted to get better and see things that I wasn't seeing or get a different view. And so having you on a team as a coach, a mentor, or leading them is, well, do you want to then teach these guys in order to put the right stuff out there? It's not just about the stores aspect, is teaching the people to be like, one, you bring the confidence to it. So you're going to show them how to be confident in what they're doing. Two, which I think is important, is why are you doing this? Like you said, teaching people what the goal is. Instead of just putting a post out there just because you're trying to rage bait someone or you're trying to get clicks, right? You're clickbaiting someone. Like, why? What's the point of this? How is it going to help you? Like, that takes education and training of understanding that. And then three is then coaching them along the way of when they get to a level, right? They've learned the technical things, which I have no idea what those are. So I probably need to sign up with you to figure out these technical things because I don't know anything about lighting. I throw a light switch on and here we go. But is once they learn the technical stuff, now there's the other layer of, okay, now that we know these, what do we want to put out there? We don't want just cars. We don't want just silly stuff. We don't want, it needs to be this combination so that I get to see the whole person. So I don't think when people think like, oh, you're saying I only do one thing, it's like, well, no, that's your primary purpose, but there's so many other things that go into it. And having someone as a coach, a mentor, a trainer just allows you to go like this. Once you take it seriously, I firmly believe, and it has been proven in almost every situation I've seen, if you don't have time to train and develop it, you don't have time to sell. Because sales don't come from like accident, right? It's training, it's development, it's confidence. And when you get people more confident, I've rarely seen it. I'm not going to say never because there's always that one instance, but I've rarely ever seen where you don't increase your sales, your productivity, or your profitability because that's where it comes from is being confident, having a story, having a goal, and then executing it every single day to where you're like, oh. And so I think it's interesting as you talk about that is we shouldn't be worried about training and developing people. We shouldn't be worried about coaching people. When they move up, that's like I look at it in a different way. And I could be maybe I'm a little bit old school, but I'm a little bit new school and I'm in between is if I had 8 people leave my store because I trained and developed them and got more positions, I look at it as isn't that the perfect advertising and social sphere and everything else to say this is where you want to come to work if you want to make it, if you want to move, like you become the thing, like I train these people and I get everything I can out of them. And then when they're ready, they go like, now people are going like this. I don't want to work for this schmuck down the street. I want to go work there because I know when I'm done there, I'm ready.
And the dealerships that are investing in this kind of social media, mentoring, coaching, giving them the tools and the freedom to really explore, those are the ones that are going to win. You were asking about now I remember, like the 10-year down the line, the dealerships that are investing in social media and support for their car salespeople are the ones that are going to be winning. Everybody else is trying to like hold on to their old ways and just saying, I just don't want them to leave with an audience. Well, then they're not going to build the audience. They're not going to be selling more cars. And you're still going to be wondering, why aren't my people posting more? And that's another thing that dealerships end up being the police, right? Going like, hey, did you post today? Did you post today? And that's just, it's grueling. Like the first thing we said in this podcast was, this is a job. This is hard work. It looks like all fun and games, but it really isn't. So having your boss be breathing down your neck that you need to be posting, that's something nobody wants that job, right? On either side. So that's why investing in this kind of coaching, mentoring, all the tools, all the training, those are dealerships that are just taking that to the bank.
But I think what you just said is perfect for people to also realize, right? Because there's always fears to anything new, right? There's probably more fears than there are embracements, right? We're a fear like, okay, now we're going to ask them to do something else. So once we measure it, we have to manage it. And then most people don't know how to manage effectively and make it positive. So they're like this, hey, how come you don't have a post yet? How come you don't have this? And so it becomes one of those like, now I'm being punished. Like,
right.
And so I think it's interesting to say that is, are you creating a culture where people want to talk about what they're doing and excited about what's happening? Or are you making it taxing? Like if you don't do this, you get in trouble type of thing, right? It's a different dynamic of understanding that. But when you get someone like you, it's like you're coming at it from a different view. Like to you, it's like your goal isn't to sell more cars. right? Your goal is to help embody them and empower them to where, guess what? We know what the result will be in time, but I'm helping you get there so that they're excited about doing it. Like they're going like this, hey, I wonder what the post is going to be today. Or if they get something where you're helping them do their individual stuff, and then they have like a social grenade that does the little memes and gifts and all the other stuff you can do. Because I know there's a version of all these things you have to do. Is
how exciting is it when one of your videos actually takes off and it has 10,000 views or 50,000 views, and you can go and brag to your friends, like, look what is happening on my account. So that makes the job more exciting.
well, and I think that's interesting, right? Because you don't have to do the goofy like skits or the dancing. Like you ain't gonna see no what was it, the milkshake song dancing out of me. That ain't gonna be me. I get it. What's
And
his name? The country star that did it. I thought it was great. It was a great gimmick. It was super great. But I was like, yeah, you ain't gonna see me doing any of these weird dances. However, you can do whatever's like you said to your personality. But I
Mhm.
think it changes things because like when we talk about, okay, is it 5 years, 10 years, and social media is like, okay, let's say they invest in you. So there's a little bit of a cost, right? Because we can't say it's free. There might be a cost in training and developing,
Right.
but that's an investment in your future. It's not an expense, and it's an investment. And the only other thing that you're doing is investing time. Well, if we know our people aren't as productive as we want them to be throughout the day, so they have time. And then we know that we can get a bigger audience if we captivate getting people to know us, trust us, and like us. Well, I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure I said this accurately because I don't want any of these trolls telling me I gave false information. But according to the survey that just got done, okay, NBC, which just got done in May, the average time in America that we spend on our devices that's outside of a phone call is 4 hours and 37 minutes.
I
In
believe
the
it.
world, which apparently we're not as degenerate as some of these other countries, is 6 hours and 40 minutes, which
We're
that just
doing
seems
better.
crazy. No, apparently we're doing better. I don't know if I believe this now that I just read this, but when you think about that, 4 hours and 37 minutes, and I'm sure they'd have a breakdown to times and stuff like that on apps, games, phones, whatever it is, social media. That's 4 hours and 37 minutes. If you're not embracing this, that you're not in front of your customer. And I can only imagine with the younger generation, that number going up. Because I know I have a 14-year-old kid and I have a 26-year-old kid and essentially a daughter-in-law because of my 26-year-old, it's his girlfriend, but they live in their device. Like, I mean, it's one of these like, hey, how are you? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I have to pull their arms back just so their eyes aren't getting blurry.
exactly.
And so it's like, how are you engaging with the buyers of tomorrow, right? Because let's say they're 19 right now. How are you creating a dynamic for them that they trust so that when they're 22, 23, more than a year from now, that they go, you know what? That's where I'm going to go. I always like watching their stuff, right? And so
And
I think it's really,
what is so funny about that is that dealerships are still very confidently investing in TV ads, saying like,
oh, stop
no,
it.
this is where it is because we know that this works and we're gonna keep doing that. You have any idea how easy it is to skip ads? How easy it is to just buy a subscription to that streaming service so you don't see any ads? And how many kids don't even know what a commercial is anymore. But we're talking about ads on the phone is what has taken over. So how can a dealership owner so confidently continue to invest in TV spots and say, but I'm not touching social media? It's a bizarre world.
Well, I think they're afraid because this came up. This was a conversation when we were at that event, like after, and someone brought it up, and I was like, it was interesting because it was a lot of the fears, and I'd love to get your insight on this. Is all right, if we give everybody and tell them we want them to post, right, and we put it as their job description, we say part of being a salesperson, an acquisition specialist, a service advisor, all the jobs, right, has to do one post a week, and we just do something minimal, one post a week about you, and then one post about the business, right? Something simple, not crazy, and it doesn't have to be 2-3 minutes, 30 seconds type of stuff. They're like, well, how do we know what they're going to say? Like, how do we police them? How do we do this? And then they said, well, then we would have to force them to take it down. And I think it's interesting because I will tell you from just a legal standpoint, if it's on their personal device, you can't ever have them take it down. And that's where the training and development comes in. But what are we so worried about? If we are, right now, mind you, I'm about to make a big, huge statement, and dealers, of course, won't like this, but the truth hurts only when it should. Is if we truly are transparent and we have a great culture and we have customer service as we like to say we do, right? And there are a handful of dealers out there that truly do have that. then what are we worried about our employees saying something about this or sharing a video or sharing a testimony or sharing whatever it may be? The ones that have the fear is because if you led with that fear, like, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's because you're the one guilty of these things. You're afraid of this. And so I'd be interested to see, how do we combat that fear to where more dealers could embrace social media without those fears? Like, what do they need to do to ensure that they don't have to worry about those negative, like, potentials?
Okay, first of all, you're looking at two different things. So I'm gonna tackle this in two parts. Part one is the whole thought of demanding that people start posting. To me, that's like my job. I have a summer job at the beach where I sell hamburgers, right? At the beach. And then one day my boss says, hey, you're also going to be a lifeguard. And I'm like, you're already at the beach.
That's
You're already
great.
at the beach. You're already here. So go and save people. I'm gonna be like, wait, I don't know how to swim. So what are you asking of me? So the anxiety level goes up, right?
Sure.
How dare they go back on our initial contract? I was just here flipping burgers. That's what I thought my job was. Because as you said, social media is a job. So the first thing that dealerships have to really get right is that the salespeople cannot be coerced or demanded to or punished for not doing social media. It cannot be an imposition. It can be something that you're inviting them to do more of. And from now on, when you hire somebody, you can add that to your list of, this is
Sure.
going to be
Sure.
expected of your job. But the people who are currently working for you, they're flipping burgers. They did not know they were going to have to get into a swimsuit and go and swim. And you don't even know if they know how to swim. All right. So that's kind of like part one, is how do you get people to actually post? We'll talk about the policing in a second. How to get people to actually post? My best way to do this is to introduce training, is to say, hey guys, this is something that is going to improve all of our lives, is going to improve yours, and we want to invite you into this training so you can learn how to do it. You can learn how to do it right. You can hear about what our policies are going to be, right? Because I have heard dealership owners say, if my salespeople don't post on their personal social media accounts, then they should go find another job. They need to be posting on their personal. I'm like, you cannot make or force anybody to post anything on their personal accounts. It's their personal accounts. So one thing that we could include in the training, like I'm here talking as if we're like planning this, I would probably encourage them to create a new account that is like Ina Ford, right? Like that's my account to talk about the dealership stuff. And that way I can keep that stuff separate from where my mother-in-law is and where my kids are. And like, that's just where I post pictures of my kids, and I keep that account private, and nobody can tell me what to do with my private account. But you can create a personal Ford account, Mitsubishi account, where I'm just going to post about this stuff, and I'm going to use the training that I'm getting in the dealership. Now I can, and I would probably encourage them, this would be part of the training. I would probably encourage them to say, if you're going to go down that route, then make sure we suggest that you go to your personal account, your real personal account, and tell them, hey, everybody, I am going to try this social media thing at work. Feel free to come and follow me there, right?
Sure.
So you can invite your audience to come to this place where you can just play and you're not inhibited by who is watching you right now. So these are the things like I would like train people to do, to try to get them a little bit more buy-in into like, hey, this is something that can be exciting. It can be fun. Here are some policies. We don't discuss these topics there. We encourage you to not play with those things, right? But it is ultimately your account, right? So that's kind of part one. Part two is this whole compliance thing, right? It's like, okay, so how do we police it? How do we, like you said, it's their personal account. They can do whatever they want with it. You do not have any claim over it. Just because they're using your brand or whatever, you don't have any claim over it. However, this should be treated like a collaboration between you and the salesperson, not a mandate, not a here's everything you need to do and you have to post every day and you have to like, no, this is supposed to be a collaboration. It's like, hey, we would totally allow you to use our brand and to use your work time, right? To fill up this account, right? And we're going to give you the coaching, the mentorship, and the support and the lessons that you need to make sure that you're successful. However, if you start to deviate from these rules, right, then we may break this collaboration, which to the dealership may mean we may not let you record on premises, which the dealership is totally able to do. It's like, hey,
Sure.
no, you cannot use our brand, like wearing our shirt and recording in our place and recording our employees. Like, we might just remove that privilege from you. You can still keep that account all you want, but our collaboration of that is over because it looks like you're not being a good partner. So but it's very, very important. So like that's also like fail-safe measures, right? Like
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
you can keep a little bit more quote unquote control over it, but it's very important for the success of this experiment that creators are allowed to create, and
I
that
agree. I agree.
and that the dealership has to know that there are some things that they're not going to like, but as long as they don't violate some HR rules or like, some things that they're just not going to be super comfortable with, but they have to be able to just let it go for the sake of the experiment and let them be creative and not feel like they're being watched all the time, because that is going to affect the quality of the content. It's going to end up being way too vanilla for it to even go viral. And then after a year, you're still going to be like, why isn't any of this working? Because you're policing too much. This has to feel like a collaboration, and the creators have to feel free to create anything that they want, to test things out, because things don't just go viral on the first day. You're going to need to try things out. They need to feel supported by the leadership. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I thought it was interesting you said that because the big thing about this, right? And and just to kind of put it in what I understood is, we can't police something that we're asking people to do that's not experimental, but it's new, right? We don't know what it is to be able to police anything yet. We have to like have enough bandwidth behind it before we know what it is. Two, like you said, creators have to create, which to me is a different way of saying the reason people come to your store is because you have different personalities, different people, different walks of life. That like it's kind of like the United Nations, right? It's a conglomerate of different things to where people engage and connect with different people. And if you don't allow them to be their person, then you're putting out a fake product, right? It's not genuine. It's not, and we all know when we've seen a non-genuine video, it looks scripted. It looks very, I mean, you might watch it, it might be entertaining, but you're like, this is definitely too polished. This is not them. And so when creators can create and use their personality, that's what gets people to attract to them is like, you're different than I am, and you're going to say things differently, and you're probably going to do things that I would never do. But guess what? It works for you and you like it. That's your personality. I'd go like this. I'll do some stuff and be like this. I don't know what he's doing, but it works for me. And but that gives your voice, or I should say, it gives your dealership, let's say you have 50 employees, 50 voices, which makes it to where I can find somebody I engage and connect with within your prism rather than this very staunchy, like, this is the way we do it. And it's very just narrow and like you said, not just vanilla, but very, guarded, right? Like we only let you see what we want you to see. And that just becomes you're like, and where I see this happen is like what we do on the phones and we do on text and we do, and so you type up, it's why I don't like using like chat and everything else in text is they send out this message. It's beautiful and email and chat. And you're like, wow, this person, man, they're really well spoken. And then you meet them and they're like, what's up, boss? How you doing? Like, and you're like, wait a minute, where's the guy that had these polished messages? And then I get Billy Joe Bob over here and he's like, and I'm like, no, I want to know who I'm dealing with. And I want to connect and talk and engage with the person that I'm going to get when I get there. So I think there's a lot of difference there.
And that's
so I love this. I think this is great. We can't give away all your trade secrets. We can only give away a couple tips. But guys, if you guys are looking to take that jump, and mind you, you have a couple different choices out there. I can only speak of 3 people I'd recommend in this social sphere. Ina's one of them. And I'll tell you why. It is drive, passion, and expertise. A lot of people say they do things, and a lot of people maybe do things, but it's, do they have the drive, the passion, and the expertise to get you where you want to go? Not just give you an idea and hope it happens, they follow it through, right? And Ina's one of those ones in this industry. Ina, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, or if they wanted to come find you, how do they get a hold of you? Let everybody know.
Great question. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for allowing me to play and to talk about these things. I could talk about these things for hours and hours. Anybody can just email me at ina at autosocialgal.com. That's exactly my handle for anywhere on social media is autosocialgal. And you can also find me on LinkedIn at Ina Coveney, and I'm sure it will be perfectly spelled in the notes of this podcast.
It will, yeah.
That's really the best way. Or if you can't find me for some reason at autosocialgal, just send a message to Darrell and he will introduce us over email.
All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Street Smarts powered by Smartwolf Consulting. And remember, we have a couple goals every time we go and we do these podcasts. This first one is we hope you guys learned something new, because when we can get better each day, then that's what we're really starting for. And we also hope, okay, that you guys got to learn and engage with something different and kind of think about things differently, because that's how we change the world, is changing our thoughts, changing our actions. And like Ina said, is right, changing our progress and goals, right? Like, what do we want to actually do, right? And we hope we were able to achieve that a little bit for you and get some clarification. Until next time, I'm Darrell Steed. This is Ina Coveney, and we enjoy spending time with you guys. You have a great week.